Imagine waking up in a prehistoric world where your squad is falling apart and dinosaur eggs are randomly sitting under your feet. That is the absolute wild nightmare Sid the Sloth stumbles into when his lonely delusion triggers an apocalyptic chain reaction. Today we are diving into part 1 of Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs, and trust me, things get chaotic insanely fast. The story kicks off with absolute pandemonium as Manny completely loses his mind. He screams at the top of his lungs thinking his wife Ellie is actively giving birth right this second. Manny sprints across the landscape like a madman convinced the big moment has arrived. He rushes over to save the day with total chaotic main character energy. But when he stumbles in a panic, he literally tumbles straight off a cliff edge. Ellie has to set him straight immediately because it was literally just the baby kicking inside her. Manny awkwardly brushes off the fact that he smashed down a mountain for literally no reason. He has to face the entire herd while looking completely ridiculous after making a massive scene. The other local animals are low-key sick of his constant overreactions every 5 minutes. Ellie lovingly calls him out because his intense stress levels are getting way out of hand. Manny tries to pivot the attention by asking where their saber-toothed buddy has disappeared to. Meanwhile, Sid is insanely energetic, zooming past everyone while showing off his bizarre athletic skills. Sid tries to challenge Diego to a race like an absolute unhinged legend. Manny then guides Ellie to a massive secret project he has been cooking up in secret. Ellie tells him to chill out so he does not stress the baby before the grand reveal. Manny unveils a massive elaborate theme park built entirely out of logs and vines for his kid. He proudly presents his handmade creation to the squad like he is a top-tier architect. Sid looks at the wooden family carvings and complains about being left off the statue. Ellie realizes Manny has gone full frantic parent by trying to cover up every rock and stick in the forest. Manny tries to deny it, but he is genuinely attempting to reshape the natural wilderness. He flexes his mammoth size, claiming he can literally change the planet for his child. Manny instantly tells Sid to keep his sticky hands off the delicate setup. He insists that the playground is strictly off-limits to everyone except his unborn child. Manny spots Diego standing off to the side looking super distant and unbothered. Ellie notices Diego is acting completely off and tells Manny to go figure out what is wrong. Manny tries to dodge the emotional conversation, claiming guys do not do deep therapy talks. He explains that male bonding just involves hitting each other without discussing feelings. Manny walks up and punches Diego on the shoulder, immediately making things awkward. He brings up Ellie's concern, hoping Diego will just say everything is totally fine. But Diego drops a massive emotional bomb by declaring he is officially leaving the herd. Diego reveals he is completely cooked because he feels like he is losing his predator instincts. The tiger feels like hanging around family life is turning him soft and useless. He realizes he was not built to babysit infants and run around baby playgrounds. Diego respects Manny's new chapter but firmly states this domestic lifestyle is not his path. Manny takes the rejection personally and gets low-key salty about Diego bouncing. Manny sarcastically tells him to hit the road if he thinks he is too cool for family life. Manny walks back to the group and coldly drops the news that their tiger buddy is pulling out. Sid gets hit with immense panic because he thought they were all having a baby together. Diego corrects Sid and bluntly points out that only Manny and Ellie are starting a family. Sid desperately argues that their original group dynamic should last forever no matter what. Diego explains that priorities shift when kids enter the picture and the original squad is done. He admits their era was legendary, but it is time for everyone to go their separate ways. With those cold words, Diego walks off into the sunset, leaving the group completely broken. Sid watches his best friends move on while he gets left behind completely in the cold. Refusing to accept being alone, Sid vows to construct an entirely new squad from scratch. While wandering through an icy wasteland, Sid suddenly slips and plunges underground. Deep in an ice cavern, he finds 3 massive glowing eggs left completely alone. Seeing his own loneliness reflected in these lost eggs, Sid instantly adopts them on the spot. He treats the giant mystery eggs like fragile human babies and carries them out to the surface. Sid drags them across dangerous glaciers with pure chaotic single-mother energy. He literally scolds the rolling eggs like they are misbehaving human toddlers. Sid proudly brings the 3 giant eggs to Manny and Ellie like a crazy person. Manny takes one look at the gigantic mystery eggs and instantly smells massive disaster. Manny tries to talk common sense into Sid, telling him to put them back immediately. He points out that taking random eggs out of a cave is literally kidnapping. Sid defends himself by claiming he saved them from becoming totally frozen rocks. Manny brutally roasts Sid by saying his only chance at a family is finding someone with 0 standards. Feeling deeply offended and heartbroken, Sid grabs his eggs and stomps away dramatically. Sid retreats to a lonely cave swearing to raise these mysterious babies completely by himself. Manny ignores Sid's dramatic breakdown, expecting him to give up on this crazy plan within minutes. Sid talks to the eggs, convincing himself he has top-tier parenting potential. Suddenly, cracks appear on the shells and 3 adorable little creature heads pop out. The newborn baby T-Rexes instantly imprint on Sid as their rightful mother. Sid is thrilled beyond belief as he cleans their faces and embraces his new role. The baby predators immediately start snapping their sharp teeth at everything in sight. Sid tries to milk a male ox to feed them, leading to an extremely embarrassing situation. Sid takes his wild baby T-Rexes over to Manny's forbidden wooden playground. Manny rushes over completely terrified as Sid opens the gates to all the local animal kids. The other parents watch in confusion as Sid's bizarre babies aggressively tackle the equipment. The baby dinosaurs go full savage mode, bullying the other animals and tearing down the structures. Sid gets super defensive with the other animal parents while chaos explodes around him. While the playground literally falls apart into tooth and claw mayhem, Sid stays utterly oblivious. Sid literally regurgitates a random kid after ruining the entire playground, giving total main character energy in the absolute worst way possible. The Possum brothers look around at the absolute chaos and realize their chaotic aura is low-key being outperformed by Sid's sheer incompetence. Crash and Eddie are almost offended that Sid managed to obliterate the park without even trying. Manny drops a massive reality check on Sid, letting him know that being a father does not involve devouring your adopted children. Manny sarcastically shuts down Sid's pathetic attempt at defending his chaotic parenting skills. Sid refuses to take accountability, stubborn as ever, insisting that these mysterious massive eggs are his forever. Suddenly, a terrifying seismic roar shakes the entire ground, immediately turning the whole playful vibe straight up suspenseful. The ground splits wide open, revealing a gigantic prehistoric predator that was definitely supposed to be dead millions of years ago. A massive, terrifying T-Rex mother stomps right into the Ice Age village, absolutely furious and looking for her stolen babies. Manny tries to keep everyone completely motionless as this mega predator scans the area for any sign of her stolen offspring. In a moment of pure unhinged delirium, Sid tries to sing a nursery rhyme to calm down a 90-foot killing machine. Manny desperately tries to explain basic biology to Sid before they all end up on the apex predator menu. Manny roasts Sid hard for demanding legal proof of motherhood from an angry dinosaur. The threat level hits absolute maximum as Manny screams at Sid to surrender the babies before they all get cooked. Sid throws hands with a giant T-Rex, standing his ground with delusional bravery that leaves everyone completely speechless. The giant dinosaur scoops up her babies along with Sid and vanishes straight down into a terrifying chasm under the ice. Diego casually writes off Sid's life, expecting him to be total dinosaur chow within 5 seconds flat. Manny tries to play protective husband and orders his heavily pregnant wife Ellie to stay behind in safety. Ellie hits Manny with peak attitude and completely shuts down his attempts to keep her out of the rescue squad. Manny agrees to descend into the terrifying pit, swearing he will personally beat Sid up the second they find him alive. The possums banter while peering down into the endless dark abyss of the underground cavern system. The rescue team takes a leap of faith right into the pitch-black underworld, totally clueless about what waits below. Manny panics as the terrain becomes ridiculously hazardous for a heavily pregnant mammoth. Ellie insists they need a super-quick emergency code word in case she goes into labor mid-mission. Ellie selects the code word Peaches, taking a brief cute pause amidst the extreme threat of total annihilation. Manny tries to smooth-talk his wife, turning her pregnancy insecurities into full-on sweet affection. The ice gives way to reveal a secret, colossal tropical landscape tucked completely hidden underneath the thick glaciers. Diego suddenly jumps out of the foliage, having tracked the team secretly to make sure his pack survives. Ellie cuts off the macho banter between Manny and Diego because giant flying monster reptiles are literally hovering overhead. Manny hesitates to ride a wild pterodactyl, but the alternative is getting stomped into dust by angry ground beasts. The crew leaps onto the back of a soaring flying reptile, pulling off an insane aerial getaway. Manny threatens the possums after surviving a heart-stopping, chaotic skyfall landing that nearly wiped them all out. Diego admits that being surrounded by towering apex predators is making his top predator ego feel completely microscopic. Crash and Eddie bond instantly with the thrilling danger of this deadly jungle ecosystem. The possums fall in love with the insane thrills of the dinosaur world and beg to stay permanently. Out of nowhere, an unhinged, eye-patch-wearing weasel drops into the scene like an absolute cinematic legend. Buck introduces himself with unmatched, chaotic main character energy, swinging around on jungle vines. Manny quickly explains that their goofy sloth friend was abducted and taken deeper into this prehistoric death trap. Buck gives them an insanely ominous welcome, letting them know that this jungle eats weak mammals for breakfast. Ellie puts her foot down, declaring that no matter how dangerous this underworld gets, nobody gets left behind. Diego low-key agrees with Buck, realizing that pushing further into this alien territory is practically a suicide mission. Ellie takes total command of the group's morale, pushing forward into the deadly uncharted green wilderness. Buck ominously warns them that continuing on this path without a proper guide will end in pure, immediate death. The possums mockingly praise Buck's cryptic, dramatic survival warnings. Buck inspects the massive dinosaur tracks and pinpoints the exact location where the mother TRex is taking Sid. Buck breaks down the horrifying reality that lava falls is where top predators raise their young on fresh meat. Buck paints a grim map of their journey, naming terrifying zones that sound straight out of a nightmare arcade game. The journey gets progressively scarier as Buck details the extreme environmental hazards awaiting them ahead. The names of the regions sound absurdly dramatic, leaving Manny utterly unimpressed and super skeptical. Manny tries to bail on Buck's tour, thinking the wild weasel has completely lost his marbles. Buck snaps at Manny, dropping a chilling reality check that this world doesn't care about their cozy mammal rules. Buck hits Manny where it hurts, questioning if his giant tusks are enough to keep Ellie safe from actual monsters. Buck hints at a threat far worse than the mother TRex lurking somewhere deep in the dark canopy. Buck drops the terrifying name of the albino Spinosaur titan that rules this underground realm with pure terror. Manny uses humor to hide his genuine concern, clowning on the monster's surprisingly simple nickname. Buck reveals his missing eye, revealing that he personally fought the ultimate apex predator and barely lived to tell the tale. Buck warns them one last time that step into the dark fog means accepting total, inescapable doom. Manny brushes off the theatrics, determined to get this nightmare rescue over with as fast as humanly possible. The atmosphere abruptly shifts as thick fog and bizarre, glowing alien flora wrap tightly around the rescue party. Ellie stops suddenly in her tracks, sensing that something invisible is watching their every move through the trees. Manny overreacts instantly, assuming his wife needs quick food to keep her and the baby strong. Manny carelessly reaches out toward a bright, vibrant jungle plant, completely ignoring basic jungle survival rules. The beautiful flower snaps shut instantly like a giant Venus flytrap, swallowing Manny whole in a single millisecond. Diego tries to pull Manny out, only to get snatched inside the carnivorous plant right alongside him. Ellie panics and tries to rip the plant apart, but Buck stops her before she causes the trap to lock down permanently. Buck gives them a thrilling countdown timer, letting Ellie know her husband is currently being turned into literal stomach soup. Even while stuck inside a digestive stomach sac, Manny takes personal offense to Buck calling him heavy. Diego panics inside the dark plant pod as burning digestive juices start soaking through his fur. The uncomfortable space makes Manny and Diego drop their tough guy personas in pure, hilarious awkwardness. The two big tough mammals scream for rescue like helpless little babies as time rapidly runs out. Buck pulls out his custom dinosaur bone dagger, leaping into action like an absolute legendary jungle warrior. Buck slashes the plant's pressure points, causing it to aggressively spit out Manny and Diego in a disgusting wave of slime. Buck establishes himself as the undisputed squad leader, laying down strict survival rules that nobody dares to break. The crew learns the hard way that stepping even 1 inch off the safe path leads to instant horror. Buck enforces hilarious tactical formations to ensure nobody gets snuck up on or blown up by toxic gas. With Buck taking the lead, the rescue team presses deeper into the lethal, fog-choked jungle terrain. Meanwhile at Lava Falls, Sid is desperately dangling over a boiling volcanic pit, begging the TRex mother for mercy. Sid somehow manages to survive another minute of extreme peril, convincing himself he is actually mastering the art of dinosaur parenting. Buck drops the terrifying lore on Rudy, the absolute unit of a dinosaur that runs this underworld like a final boss. The wild weasel literally screams at random plants on the ground like a paranoid neighbor defending his turf. Manny is low-key stunned that Buck survives in this absolute nightmare realm with zero responsibilities. Buck picks up a rock like a cell phone, pretends to take a call, and casually tells them they're entering the chasm of death. He hits them with a brutal warning that inhaling the pink gas in the trench will immediately end their whole career. Ellie has major main character energy and doesn't even hesitate to swing across the deadly abyss first. Buck tells the rest of the squad to pile onto the vine, acting like crossing a bottomless pit is a total walk in the park. The vine gets jammed right in the middle of the fumes, forcing everyone to hold their breath in high-stakes suspense. Diego snaps under the pressure and takes a massive gulp of the pink gas, instantly squeaking out loud. Instead of dropping dead, the gas gives them absurd high-pitched voices that have everyone giggling like crazy. Manny roasts Diego for sounding like a cartoon, completely failing to realize his own voice is cooked too. Crash and Eddie totally lose their last remaining brain cells and start singing holiday tunes in helium tones. Buck freaks out from the edge because the hysterics are actually the lethal symptom right before you pass out. He reveals that previous travelers literally died laughing in this exact trap, raising the stakes to absolute maximum. High on toxic fumes, Manny spills the ultimate tea and confesses to the whole crew that he doesn't even like Sid. Diego breaks character and admits that almost dying in a dinosaur underworld is the most fun he's had in years. Manny fires back with heavy sarcasm, calling out Diego for abandoning the pack right when things got chaotic. The gas forces Crash to blurt out his most embarrassing personal secret in front of everyone. Eddie instantly tops it by confessing that he's actually the one wetting Crash's bed every single night. Once Buck pulls them out of the chasm just in time, they awkwardly try to pretend the entire truth session never happened. They realize they left Buck behind in the fog while he dramatically laments his own endless isolation. Buck gives a heartbreaking yet hilarious mini-monologue about his extreme loneliness before catching up to the group. Meanwhile, Sid is up on the surface trying to force baby apex predators to eat broccoli like a delusional mom. The sloth genuinely believes he can re-engineer thousands of years of evolution with a plant-based diet. Mama T-Rex drops a massive fresh kill for her babies, but Sid steps up to confront her face-to-face. Sid sets strict household rules and tries to free a little bird right out of the baby dino's mouth. The bird immediately gets snapped up by another dino, instantly shutting down Sid's peaceful parenting dream. Sid tries to argue with a giant prehistoric killer as if they're in couples therapy. He hits Mama TRex with the ultimate personal insult, roasting her relationship status straight to her face. Sid complains that her terrifying roars aren't constructive communication, totally oblivious to his imminent death. He calls out her aggressive behavior, failing to realize that nobody in their right mind talks to a TRex like this. Back with the rescue squad, Buck warns everyone that the jungle becomes 10 times more lethal once night falls. He stresses that staying out in the open after dark is a guaranteed death sentence for fragile mammals. Manny and Diego start seriously debating whether their survival guide is actually just an unhinged psycho. Buck starts having a full-blown physical fight with his own foot right in front of the traumatized crew. Diego watches in utter shock as Buck literally tries to choke out his left foot in broad daylight. Manny tries to keep the mission on track, but Buck insists that moving at night makes them easy pickings. Buck makes it clear that he refuses to let the herd get served up on a platter to his mortal enemy. They decide to set up camp inside a giant dinosaur skull to stay hidden from nocturnal predators. Buck offers up food to the team, but instantly takes a savage jab at Manny's thick body size. He casually fat-shames the mammoth before diving into the epic backstory of his missing eye. Buck sets the dramatic scene of his legendary first battle against the albino dinosaur king. He recounts staring straight into the cold, ruthless eye of the ultimate white monster. When the possums interrupt to ask if he died in the fight, Buck hits them with a legendary response. He deadpans that he was sadly killed but somehow lived, breaking all logic with absolute confidence. Buck describes how dancing on the brink of total destruction gave him the ultimate rush of his life. He explains that true living only happens when you are a fraction of a second away from annihilation. He details how Rudy swallowed him whole, pulling him deep into the dark depths of his monstrous throat. Buck grabbed onto Rudy's uvula at the last second, swinging around inside the beast's mouth like an acrobat. He held onto that pink target for dear life while the giant dinosaur tried to churn him down. He built up momentum inside the throat before launching himself right back out into freedom. He blasted out of Rudy's mouth like a cannonball, narrowly escaping a horrible digestive fate. He lost his right eye in the process, but he didn't leave that monster's jaws empty-handed. Buck whips out a massive white dagger, a sharp tooth he ripped straight out of Rudy's mouth as revenge. The possums are completely fanboying over Buck's insanely metal origin story around the campfire. Manny cuts the hype session short, shutting down the campfire story so everyone can get some rest. Manny gently coddles Ellie, making sure his pregnant wife is comfortable in this high-risk zone. Diego steps up to take the night shift, proving he's still got that protective apex instinct in him. Crash and Eddie hype themselves up, claiming the darkness is their natural domain as night dwellers. They act super tough for 2 seconds before instantly falling fast asleep like tiny helpless babies. Buck whispers a dark lullaby to his distant nemesis, stoking the suspense for their inevitable rematch. Up on the surface, Sid tucks the baby dinosaurs into bed, missing his real herd more than ever. He realizes that his found family might never come for him, feeling utterly abandoned in enemy territory. Ellie catches Manny staying up late, stressing over how much danger he dragged his family into. Manny blames himself for pushing Sid away and leading the entire herd into the most lethal ecosystem on Earth. Ellie comforts him, reminding Manny that rescuing a brother is never something to feel guilty about. Buck pops out of nowhere and calls out Manny's guilt trip, putting things into perspective with tough love. Buck points out that Manny brought his pregnant wife into literal hell just to save a goofy sloth. He tells Manny that while he might be an overprotective wreck, he is an undeniably elite friend. The next morning, Buck catches a scent in the air that smells like pure biological warfare. He declares they've stumbled onto an active crime scene after finding half-eaten food and tracks. Buck constructs an insane, completely backward theory about Sid beating up a dinosaur with broccoli. Manny instantly shuts down the theory, reminding Buck that Sid is neither violent nor physically capable. Buck pivots to a second theory where the dinosaur eats Sid and squashes the vegetables in the process. When asked when he lost his mind, Buck casually drops that he once woke up married to an ugly fruit. Alright guys, welcome back to the insane final act of Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Ellie goes into full labor in the worst possible spot, surrounded by lava rivers and vicious predators. With Sid drifting on a melting rock towards a lava waterfall, the squad has to pull off a chaotic split mission. Ellie starts screaming out fruit names as code words for her severe labor contractions. The situation gets hilariously confusing as Manny tries to translate her fruit-coated screams into actual help. Manny completely loses his mind in a state of sheer panic as he realizes his baby is coming right now. In classic stressed dad fashion, Manny literally asks Ellie if she can just hold the baby in for a few minutes. Ellie is so cooked by his cluelessness that she asks someone to knock some sense into him. Buck takes charge and casually bends all his crazy survival rules to handle the emergency. Buck admits he just makes up all his rules on the fly with pure unhinged energy. Manny and Diego team up to hold down the perimeter while Buck takes Crash and Eddie for Sid's rescue. The Possum brothers get surprisingly emotional before charging off into mortal danger. Manny stress talks to himself as he prepares to face down a horde of hungry raptors. Manny goes full protective mammoth mode, charging through the danger zone to reach his wife. The environment is completely exploding with molten rock, making every step a life-or-death gamble. Up above, Buck hypes up the possums for a high-flying mission that is low-key reckless. Buck hijacks a giant flying pterodactyl like it's a fighter jet. Buck casually drops the news that he has zero flight experience right as they plunge off a cliff. Diego steps up with massive main character energy, promising to protect Ellie while Manny clears the path. Diego locks eyes with Manny, establishing total trust during their most desperate moment. Manny sprints across scorching hot rocks, literally tiptoeing through the flames to reach Ellie. Ellie gives Manny a snarky reality check while literally trying to deliver a giant baby mammoth. Ellie freaks out and asks Diego if he knows literally anything about delivering a baby. Ellie reaches out in pain, holding Diego's paw for comfort in a super wholesome scene. Diego wingits like a boss, talking Ellie through her intense contractions. In the sky, Buck maneuvers their flying mount to intercept Sid before he falls into the fiery abyss. Crash and Eddie start chucking wild fruits like anti-aircraft missiles at aggressive flying dinos. Diego keeps Ellie focused on her breathing while kicking Dinosaur tail at the exact same time. Buck leads an insane aerial dogfight, dodging laser-sharp beak attacks in midair. The battle turns into a full-on Jurassic air show with wild stunts everywhere. The possums blast their aerial attackers out of the sky with explosive fruit ammo. Their giant bird gets hit hard and starts spiraling down fast toward the lava lake. Crash and Eddie panic and prepare for impact as their crazy flight glides into chaos. The Possum brothers share a hilarious emotional bro moment thinking they are completely cooked. Sid cries out at the edge of the lava waterfall, accepting his tragic fate. At the absolute last second, Buck swoops in and snatches Sid right out of thin air. Sid realizes they are flying completely out of control upside down. Back on the ground, Diego leads the final push for Ellie's labor amidst the chaos. Ellie gives it everything she's got as Manny finally makes it to her side. Diego locks down the perimeter, banishing the predatory dinos like an absolute unit. A newborn baby mammoth enters the world, instantly stopping all the madness. Manny is completely overwhelmed with emotional dad vibes and officially names her Peaches. Even the cold-blooded predator Diego drops his tough exterior and gets teary-eyed. Sid arrives on scene and immediately mistakes the baby's tail for something else. Manny instantly corrects him, proudly introducing his newborn baby daughter. Sid gives Manny a hilarious backhanded compliment about the baby's cute looks. Sid roasts Manny's appearance while trying to stay sweet and loving. Manny softens up and admits he genuinely missed his chaotic friend Sid. Diego looks at the group, feeling a deep warmth in his heart for his true pack. Buck directs the entire squad back toward the cavern portal to return to the surface. They reach the giant ice tunnel, feeling like they finally beat the dangerous underworld. Sid jokes about making dinosaur rescues a regular habit, which everyone shuts down. Buck bids them a legendary farewell, planning to stay in his beloved underground jungle. Out of nowhere, the terrifying monster dinosaur Rudy bursts out for one final battle. Rudy roars furiously, blocking their exit with peak supervillain energy. Buck leaps into action, taunting his arch-nemesis with insane acrobatic stunts. The herd coordinates an awesome trap using giant jungle vines to tangle Rudy up. They pull the vines tight, locking the massive albino beast down to the ground. Rudy easily breaks through the ropes, lunging straight at Sid in a heart-stopping moment. At the final second, Mama Dino charges in and shoulder tackles Rudy right off the giant cliff. With Rudy gone, Sid gives his adopted Dino kids a super sweet goodbye kiss. Diego gives Sid major respect for being a surprisingly amazing parent to the Dinos. Sid offers to babysit Peaches in the future, but Manny shuts that down instantly. Buck looks over the edge at Rudy's fall, suddenly feeling like his life's purpose is gone. Manny invites Buck to leave the underworld and join their herd on the surface above. Buck admits he's been down here so long he doesn't know how to fit into a normal world. Manny jokes that their herd is total chaos, so Buck would fit in perfectly. A distant roar echoes from the canyon, revealing Rudy survived the drop. Buck gets his wild spark back, deciding to stay behind to keep hunting his ultimate rival. The squad steps out onto the snow, realizing Buck cut the bridge to stay in his element. Diego smiles, knowing that Crazy Weasel is going to live his absolute best life down there. Diego drops a massive bombshell, revealing he decided to stay with the herd forever. Diego realizes that protecting his found family is the greatest adventure he could ever ask for. Sid gets super emotional as he watches his Dino kids return to their natural world. Manny lovingly welcomes baby Peaches to her beautiful frozen world as the screen fades out. And that is how the legendary Ice Age squad survived the ultimate dinosaur underworld showdown. From aerial Dino dogfights to welcoming baby Peaches, this climax was pure adrenaline and high-key iconic. If you enjoyed this detailed recap, smash that like button and hit subscribe for more insane movie breakdowns. Comment down below your absolute favorite scene from this wild prehistoric adventure. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our next thrilling video. Catch you later.